Hi, guys, and welcome to the Horror Room. So, this week I decided we're going to do another top five, and I thought we would stray from the comfortable path and go towards the other end of the spectrum, extreme horror. Now, extreme horror is not a genre that's for everyone, and a lot of people, when they're growing up, getting into horror, they might, just seek these movies out because they're edgy. There's a lot of movies out there. Like there's a ton that I still don't even have or haven't seen. Um, some of them I plan on getting, some I don't. A good example of this is I've seen the Vomit Gore trilogy, but I don't really plan on owning them. If I found them for cheap, maybe just because I kind of like the artwork on the box or the DVDs and stuff. Um, as far as watchability goes, though, not so much. Plus the director. Ooh. Um, but there's a ton of different movies, and some are a little more exploitative than others. So that's why I decided to make this list today. We're going to talk about five controversial, extreme movies that I own, and I'm going to tell you why I own them and what I like about them, what I don't like about them, and whether I would recommend watching them. So first off, we're gonna start from the tamest, going all the way up to the most extreme. I guess. I mean, there's probably way worse stuff out there. Actually, I know there's way worse stuff out there. But like I said, it's stuff that I don't technically own or don't really feel like owning. I do want to give a special shout out to Faces of Death. I do have those. I could have included them, but most of the stuff is recreations, anyways. Plus, I have an idea for a future video involving that series in particular, but it's going to be rough. So I'm not looking forward to doing that right now. So let's dive into this list. First off, we have from the classic Grindhouse era, we have I Spit on Your Grave, the original exploitation assault movie. I guess we can say that. And a lot of people don't know that's Demi Moore's butt on the cover. The same Demi Moore from The Substance. I guess, obviously she doesn't want her name connected to a movie like this. And you have this uh, tagline that says, "This woman has just chopped, crippled, and mutilated four men beyond recognition, but no jury in America would ever convict her." That's completely false. They would totally convict her. Um, but this is the director's cut of this movie. Now, I have the remake and the sequels. I have seen the sequel, requel, whatever you want to call it. Um, I'm trying to remember what it's. Deja Vu. Yeah, I Spit on Your Grave, Deja Vu. That's the only one that I would totally just say avoid it. It sucks. It's just dumb. Um, and yes, the remake and its sequels are a little more mean spirited, which I guess you could say, oh, that's more controversial. But you got to think when this movie came out for the time, this was like the 70s, and there were a lot of exploitative movies in that time period, but none like I Spit on Your Grave. Even Last House on the Left doesn't quite reach the levels that this one does. It contains some of the same thematic stuff. It's very uncomfortable to watch like that. Um, but this one doesn't have bumbling cops in it that play stupid music when I don't know what Wes Craven was thinking with that. Um, but this movie is very controversial, um, very, very hard to sit through, even though she's going to get her revenge. And it's not very graphic in the revenge scenes. Um, which I guess you could say maybe they're making a statement about the violence that's portrayed on her is way more extreme than this violence, which I totally agree with. That it's a bad thing. Anyway, you slice it. Oh, I shouldn't have said slice it because we're thinking of the bathtub scene. Yikes. Um, but yeah, it's a rough watch no matter what, and there's really no one to root for because even by the end, even though this woman's been, assaulted, she's doing these terrible things, and, the ends, do they justify the means? I guess that's up for you to decide. Um, I will say that this one's plot, if you can call it that, is a little more, to the point. Uh, well, I guess as to the point as you can get in an assault movie. Um, but the remake is a little, okay, not a little more, way more mean spirited. If you've seen it, then you know when the guy says, "I'm an ass man." Yikes. Yeah, so we're not going to focus on this movie anymore. But this one, uh, what do I like about it? There is one character that you kind of feel a smidgen bad for. I mean, he did do the same things that the other guys did, but you get the feeling that, he's an idiot. Like, he should not be there. That's really mean to say. So I guess one of my good things is that he tries to, soften her up. Like, hey, like, you don't want to hurt me. So I like that they added, one of them like kind of feels a little like, oh, maybe you should just let this guy live, but no, she doesn't. So I like that they didn't like make her have like second thoughts. Like she's out to kill them all. Doesn't matter. Um, what I don't like is the final scene being the boat scene. I think the bathtub scene is way more impactful, and that comes before. The boat scene at the end is just kind of like, I guess it's okay, but to end on that bathtub scene would have been brutal. Um, would I recommend watching this? I'd say if you're really into the Grindhouse era of movies, go for it. But if not, or if the subject matter makes you uncomfortable, then I wouldn't bother. Obviously, any movie with this subject matter is going to be uncomfortable, and if you don't want to watch something like that, totally understandable. Um, and there's actually way worse movies with that subject in mind, but like I said, I don't own them. Irreversible is one example. Um, Next, like I said, we're going least to most. We have Human Centipede 2 full sequence. Now, you're probably saying, how is this movie about a woman dealing with this horrible thing that happened to her less impactful than a Human Centipede movie? Have you seen Human Centipede 2? It is one of the hardest sits, and it's in black and white, so you think, oh, that's not going to be so bad. I won't get to see the blood. This movie is really, really gross, and it's crazy because I'm like, I wonder if it would be better or worse if it was in color. Um, and that's always been like a good question. Um, Now, see, I like to take movies like this October. I watched Halloween and like desaturated it, watched it in black and white. It was a lot of fun. There's no way to add color to this. I mean, maybe there is. Maybe using AI. But I don't want to do that. This movie's already gross enough as is. Um, a lot of people always, mainly the people who didn't venture into the sequels, they always cite, oh, Human Centipede 1, that movie's so gross, it's disgusting. And to those people, I'm like, did you even watch the movie? Yes, the idea is really gross, but the movie itself is very sterile, very clean. Like, the idea is what's gross. Yes, there's the shitting in the mouth, that's disgusting. But this movie, this guy doesn't, he's not a doctor. He's just a guy who watched the first movie because in each movie it treats the previous movie or movies like fiction. Like in part three, it treats one and two like movies, and three is more of a dark comedy, in my opinion. One is a straight horror movie. This is the extreme horror one. Especially when you get to the last 30 minutes, it gets downright nasty. Um, I can't even talk about most of the stuff that's in here, but I'm going to try to because I have to tell you what my favorite scene is and what my least favorite scene is. Um, I guess if I had to say my favorite scene, this is going to make me sound like a sicko, but one of the people in the centipede escapes and she's pregnant. She gets in her car and her her baby just flops out on the floor, and she's trying to get away, so she stomps on the gas pedal to get away, and the baby's under the gas pedal. It looks super fake. I guess it's supposed to shock you, but I just was so quick and out of nowhere. It made me kind of like laugh because I was like, "Wow, that was weird." Um, yeah, I think that's my favorite part. Which I know I'm terrible. My least favorite part is the scene where his mom catches him with the sandpaper. That's all I'm gonna say. Gross. The actor who plays oh, what's his name? Martin. Phenomenal job. And it's crazy to watch him in this movie and then go to part three and boom, just like completely different ends of the acting spectrum. Not the actual spectrum, because I mean, you could say I'm making fun of him in this movie, but I mean, you kind of feel bad for him, but then you see what he does, and you're like, eh. Now, would I recommend this movie? Hell yes. Get a group of people, people that you can trust aren't gonna walk out halfway through. Get some drinks and just get ready for the most uncomfortable but fun movie night. Um, you've got to make sure these are some sick individuals you're watching this with. Because yeah, I once did that. I screened this for one of my exes. We had like a little get together, um, and one of our friends actually went and threw up. So it was kind of funny, kind of mean, but yay, Human Centipede 2. So now we're on to number 3. This one, I'm going to put my hand over the cover. I'm not even sure if I can show the cover on YouTube, but I'm not going to risk it. And that's Necromantic 2. Oh, yikes. Now we're getting into the gross stuff. The sequel to the original, which is basically a couple that is into loving the dead. Yeah. And it is a rough watch, the first one. There's like a scene of a rabbit being skinned, and I'm pretty sure it was real. It's always uncomfortable when you see animal deaths in a movie, especially if they don't. Like, honestly, even if it did add something to the plot, it's not necessary unless it's fake, but clearly. And there is something in this one, I think it's a seal clubbing. Yeah, these women are getting together, watching this, and like getting turned on by it, which is weird. Which is also, unironically, the guy who made Human Centipede, he had a movie with a similar plot, but it's never seen the light of day. I don't think it's ever going to come out. And I've always wondered, like, what is that movie? But I think Tom Six, the director, wants like a crazy amount of money. But we're not talking about that. So Necromantic 2 picks up where the first one ended. The guy in the original movie died in a very unique and nasty way. That's all I can say. And his girlfriend decided, hey, I'm going to keep this guy around, and he's going to be my lover even in death. Because until death do us part, it does not apply here. I don't even think they were married. Shame on them. Let's just say I was in a very dark headspace when I watched both of these back to back, mind you. Um, and I felt very uncomfortable after the first one, but after the second one, my jaw was on the floor. And if you know the ending of this movie, it's pretty rough. Um, which makes it really hard to pick a scene that I like out of the movie. I guess any part where she's not loving the dead. I think she has a potential love interest, and some of those scenes I do like. I think they go to the movies at one point. Yeah. So you get this false hope that, hey, maybe she's gonna start dating this guy and stop doing that stuff. And it gets worse for Buddy Boy later on. Yikes. So yeah, I like those scenes. Those are nice because you're like, oh, maybe there's hope, even though you're like, probably not. I don't like the seal scene. It's very brief, but it's like, was that necessary? Like, Did we need to add to her being sick even further? Uh, I didn't think so. Would I recommend it? Unless you are a nihilist or a sadomasochist or German, because that's who made it. It was a German director. Maybe you're just in it for the, prestige. I don't know if I don't think I would recommend Necromantic 2 because it's a movie that will leave you kind of feeling very nasty. Like, you're going to want to shower after that. So yeah, I don't think I'd recommend it. Like, I've only watched it once, and this Blu-ray comes with a bonus photograph, which I cannot show you. I can hold it up like this, but I cannot show you the photograph because it looks pretty real, and it's pretty gross. But anyways, with that out of the way, on to the final two. Now, that's a pretty rough movie, but that cannot even begin to compare Cannibal Holocaust. Yes, that's right. Now, I own this movie in multiple formats. Okay, I just own a DVD and the Blu-ray. I cannot show the Blu-ray. There's like gross stuff on there. But this one is the unrated version, so it's got it all. It's got the animal stuff. That's probably right off the bat. I'm just going to tell you that's my least favorite part of this movie, and least favorite scene is specifically the turtle scene. Ugh. Bad enough that these real animals were harmed for this movie, but the turtle one is especially bad. It lingers. It does not make you feel good. And I think the actress in the movie was harassed a lot on set, and I think they actually forced her to eat some of it, and it's just um now this, despite all of its major flaws, which it has a good amount when it comes to controversy, this is a piece of horror history because this is up there with like the banned videos, video nasties. So this was one of those movies that people whispered about before the internet was a thing, before you could get on YouTube and look up a review. A lot of times you'd have to buy a bootleg tape of this, and we're talking, the standard VHS price was, at least back then was like maybe $40-$50, which I know that sounds crazy, but you know, sometimes if you bought a bootleg tape, you'd be paying like 100, 120. It's nuts. And I think this is one that was up there just because it was so hard to find, and you have to get, I think they were like the European ones, so they had subtitles and stuff. Um, Now, my favorite scene? Huh. I guess I could say right before it switches, because it first half of the film is about them trying to find the lost camera equipment and find out what happened to these people that went missing. The second half is watching the footage and finding out what happened to them and why, and finding out they're real pieces of shit. Um, I do like the part where they finally find the film and they find the tribe that's responsible, and it's just like very tense. Um, and he has to like do stuff with them. I think he like trades them. I can't remember if he trades them a lighter or like a gun or something. I don't think he traded them a gun. That'd be very irresponsible. Um, um, but I guess if I was looking at the second half of the movie, I would be crazy not to think of the iconic pole scene, because it looks so real that they actually had to go into court and show people how they did it. Which, if you know the scene, the girl with the pole through her, and it looks so real. It's so gross. But all she did was sit on a bicycle seat with a prop in her mouth, and I'm like, that's the only thing I'll applaud this movie for. Is that is a damn good practical effect. Um, Now, would I recommend this movie? I just realized I'm not explaining why I own these movies. Um, let me burn through real quick. most of these I did get from my friend who gave me like practically my whole collection, which big shout out to that guy because to keep all these movies and then just give them, come on, come on. But yeah, most of these I did buy Human Centipede 2 myself, of course. I did buy, oh, whoa, Necromantic 2 myself. I'm pretty sure I bought Cannibal Holocaust because I had seen it. I just hadn't seen it in a while, and then I bought the next one because even though they are the more extreme movies, a lot of these I have seen before, and they're still a part of horror history, like it or not. Um, Especially Cannibal Holocaust. It's one of the more infamous ones, and you're probably saying to yourself, like, what could be worse than Cannibal Holocaust? Now, before we get to that, I do have to say, would I recommend watching this? Yes and no. Now, let me explain. I did a video a while back on my channel. You can find it. You just have to look for it. Where me and my girlfriend, we actually sat down and we watched Cannibal Holocaust, but we watched the cruelty-free version, which takes out all the animal deaths. Now, does that make the movie any easier to sit through? Not by much. There's still a lot of horrible things, especially in the second half. Um, but it does kind of make you think about the nature of man, it, like the civilized society versus, what we deem as like savages, tribes that are, these backwards people that don't have morals. But then you see that, the civilized man, the man that, wears a suit and tie, he can be just as vicious as these people who live out the jungle. And they're just doing, their rituals, their practices. So yeah, it kind of makes you think, but at the same time, there's a lot of unnecessary cruelty in that movie. But I would say it's at least worth one watch. The music is haunting. It'll stick with you, especially the music from the turtle scene. I cannot listen to that song because it instant visual. Um, Last but certainly not least, I guess, in terms of shock value, we have Serbian film. This is the big one. This is the one that a lot of people, if you like this movie, you're a sicko. You're a PDF file, apparently. Um, Now, I'm not going to try and defend this movie. I do think there's a lot of boundaries that they cross in this movie that are pretty unnecessary. Um, One of them is a little ridiculous. I think that's the one that most people point to, but I think it gets way worse later on. And I will kind of explain because I can't really go into detail because YouTube. Um, but this is a movie that when I first heard about it, I got to tell you this story. Back when I used to make horrorcore music, I went over to my friend's house and, in between recording music, we talked about horror. We talked about, crazy shit on the internet we saw because it was like early internet days. Of course, everyone was talking about that. And my friend brought up, hey, there's this movie that me and my friend watched, and it was like, we found it online, and he starts describing this movie, and I'm just sitting there like, nah, they're yanking my chain. That can't be a movie. That sounds illegal as hell. Um, and he's describing this thing like from front to back, and I'm like, you watched that? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, it was rough, and I was like, oh, well, that sounds crazy. But part of me was like, probably made all that up. Um, Cut to a couple years later, one of my friend's exes was having like a little get together, and he said, "Hey, I found this crazy movie, and we're gonna watch it together." And it was just me, him, and his friends, and he puts it in, and about maybe 20, 30 minutes in, I went, "Oh, this is that movie," and like suddenly I was like, "Uh oh," but I was like, "Well, we're already here." And we were cracking jokes for like the first half, but once it hit the infamous part where they show the birthing scene, that's when it started to become less haha and more uh, um, Yeah, this is a hard movie to recommend. It's even I can't even say like it's hard to pick out a good scene. Um, because there's really not a lot of good scenes. Um, I guess I could say his little training montage before he gets back into his line of work, which I also can't talk about because he's an actor for adult movies. Um, and it's about his descent into this world that's, disgusting and vile, and it goes way beyond the boundaries that you think it would. And by the end, it's just like it takes like everything that you just saw and makes it 10 times darker. Um, so yeah, I guess the little harmless like jogging scene, and he's pumping himself up like, yeah, I'm gonna go make love for money, and then it gets really bad. The worst scene? Oh God, everyone would point to the baby thing, which is pretty bad, but it's also incredibly fake looking. The idea of it, that's what's really bad. But the part later on, uh, where you find out what happens with his family and his brother. Oh God, that part was really fucked. I that's the only way I can emphasize it. I'm just dropping that one F bomb for that. Hands down. And then after that, you say, "Oh my gosh, thank God it's over," but it just gets 10 times worse. The ending just leaves you feeling like so empty and hollow. Um you're probably like, why would you want to own this fucking movie? Oh, I dropped another F bomb. I don't care. Well, it had some weird special features on here. One of them is that there's a museum with some of the props from the movie, including the baby. And I was like, I got it. I gotta watch the bonus features. Plus, there's an interesting thing that says there's a documentary coming out. Now, that I've been trying to keep an eye out for. I don't know when it's supposed to release. It's probably like aired in film festivals. But I'm very curious to watch that because I want to see how they justify a lot of the things they do in this. Because supposedly it's a big political statement, but it's like if if you can see politics in a movie like this, okay. Um, and there's like an this is the uncut version. The cut version only is missing like 4, maybe 5 minutes. And believe you me, those 4 to 5 minutes really matter. Um, Whether or not you need to see them 4 or 5 minutes, I guess that's up to you. Um, this is just, it's an uncomfortable movie all around. Would I recommend it? I don't think I would. Like I said, most people would look at me and say, ew, like you're disgusting, you're a horrible person. But I mean, it's part of horror history, like it or not. I think that, is interesting in some regards, but, I definitely can't justify what they did in this movie. Um, I will say it is a very well shot movie. Like the cameras, the stuff they do with certain scenes, not later on. Yikes. Um, but like the actors are very good. Like considering what they have to do, the main actor that plays Milos is damn good. Like you really feel sorry for this guy and all this horrible shit that he's going through. And by the end, you're just like, rest easy, my friend. And the other positive thing I can say about this is the music is phenomenal. It's like synth, techno, German, just loud, bassy. Like there's some uncomfortable music too, and it works pretty well. But for it to have such hype music that makes you like, it's not fair. um, but would I recommend watching it? If you're by yourself and no one's watching and you're feeling brave, go for it. But I don't think you could convince anybody to watch this with you unless they knew about it prior. And even then, like I knew about it prior and I still wasn't prepared for what I was seeing. I was like, whoa. Like it really does make you feel like you found this on the dark web. and you probably shouldn't be watching it. So yeah, those are my top 5 controversial, extreme horror movies that I own. Let me know if you guys want to see more. I do have way more that I could talk about. There's some that I haven't even watched yet, so I probably should get around to it. And there are some that I want to review that have like an original and a remake, and I'm thinking about doing some of those just to compare them. Martyrs is a good example. There's also Inside. Toolbox Murders is kind of mid. But yeah, so let me know if that sounds like something you guys would watch. If you stuck around for this whole video, I appreciate it. I know this is probably a rougher topic to sit through, but if you're a horror fan, you probably know about most of these, and I just wanted to give you my opinions on some of them and tell you whether or not you should watch them. But in the end, it is your decision. So don't blame me if you watch one of these and you go, "Oh, I can't believe he recommended that nasty film." Well, I didn't push play, did I? So, um, anyways, I will see you guys next week, and thanks for watching.